Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Was Given a Second Chance by Goddess Yami. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Is this all there is? Who was sent after Naruto out of everyone? Tsunade was taken aback when he saw Jiraiya, Neji, Tenten, Kakashi, Guy, and the Inoshika Cho as survivors of the large attack group sent after Naruto. Yes, Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said before reporting on the mission, who was with Naruto and the blonde's powers, which they had witnessed firsthand being used. It's not possible. Kyuubi has vanished. That was the brat's only weapon the entire time. Naruto should have been nothing compared to you without the fox, and should have lost to your group. Tsunade was enraged. Whatever Naruto has become is something beyond anything we've ever seen before, and his strange sword appears to be a part of it, Guy said, explaining what Naruto had told them about his power, and how most of it was sealed away in his Zanpakuto. So, if his sword is removed from his possession, the brat loses all power and can be killed, Tsunade said, shaking Jiraiya's head and looking at his shoulder, where his missing arm had once been connected. No. Naruto's speed is unrivaled in my experience. His strength as well. Even without the weapon, the brat can cause serious damage, and let's not forget Naruto's Fracione, Jiraiya said before telling her about the blonde subordinate's abilities being very skilled and powerful in their own right. Then came the part where the two Akatsuki members died just before and after the arrival of the leaf, with Uchiha Itachi being the first to die. Tsunade was furious when she heard this, because she knew Sasuke had wanted a shot at Itachi for a long time, and she had every intention of granting it within the next few months when the older of the two had little to no eyesight to make things easier on the younger. All of this was part of the plan to keep the Uchiha loyal. Sasuke trains to be strong enough to successfully and easily kill Itachi, then become Hokage in another year, maybe two for good measure, and rebuild Konoha under his rule. Hinata was with him? Tsunade asked Neji, who could only nod yes in response, but he winced in pain, and Tenten placed him on a nearby chair. There was Hinata, and she fought Neji. Really hit him hard too, Tenten said, with Neji giving her a side glare and his pride hurting as much as his body. There was this tall guy with orange hair who was hanging out with Naruto. He killed Lee by turning his arms into axes and went completely insane, with only Naruto being able to keep him in line, Neji said, explaining how the crazed Jugo went insane unless Naruto was around to keep him in line and the apparent connection the kid had to the Kagaya they fought 3 years ago. So Naruto promised him retaliation and delivered. Does that mean the K's cage is also a target? Tsunade expressed hope at the end, because it provided the village with a potential ally in Suna. No. Naruto made it clear to Jugo that the K's cage is not to be approached. Thanks to Naruto, Lee was the intended target for this guy's vengeance, Guy said, feeling the burns on his face, knowing they would leave a mark despite Ino's healing earlier after she saved Jiraiya from bleeding to death when Naruto severed the Sannin's arm. Damn it! Exclaimed Tsunade, hoping to use this information to her advantage in gaining the K's cage's support. It won't be long before word spreads about what happened to us in Whirlpool. Naruto will make certain of it, Shikamaru said, seeing Tsunade's grimace. How do you want to proceed, Tsunade? Jiraiya asked, as Tsunade pondered her options. We can't concentrate on Naruto right now. While I'd like nothing more than to kill him with my bare hands, despite the loss of 2 members, the Akatsuki are a much bigger threat, and we need to focus on the organization while strengthening our defenses. Jiraiya, due to your injury, I'm going to have to place you on an active duty and assign you to teach Sasuke everything you know. Sealing. Jutsus. Everything. When these two fight, I want the Uchiha to run circles around Naruto. Guy, I want you to teach Sasuke your taijutsu skills so that he can keep up with Naruto. Hitaki, if you have any trump cards with your Sharingan eye, I want Sasuke to know about them and master them in the next few months, Tsunade said, Shikamaru frowning. You're putting a lot of trust in the Uchiha, Shikamaru said as Tsunade looked at him. When the time comes to take him down, the Uchiha is our only hope of combating the Akatsuki, the other villages, and Naruto, Tsunade said, with Shikamaru agreeing, but the risk was still high, and there was no telling how vast Naruto's power truly was because he already wielded so much. What do we do, Hokage-sama? Ino inquired. Continue training to get stronger. All of you need to do that for the coming war in Naruto when the time comes to put him down, Tsunade said, biting her thumb with worry and trying to think of a backup plan in case things didn't go as planned. 2 weeks later with Naruto. The blonde stirred in his sleep. For once, the dream was pleasant because they were either filled with horrible nightmares from the past or just blanks of dark nothingness like in Hueco Mundo in Las Noches. The dream itself depicted Naruto discovering his mother's homeland full of life and people, with Hinata beside him and a child to call their own. He almost believed it was real and felt a slight pain in his heart when he awoke to find that it was not. Whirlpool was in shambles. Its inhabitants have perished with the passage of time. Hinata, on the other hand, was sleeping on top of him in their shared bedroom. The house they were in was large, so they had plenty of room to sleep in their own rooms, but Hinata didn't want to sleep in any room unless the blonde was also there, and just wanted to lie in bed with him. For now. Karen made a habit of checking on them, jealously glaring at Hinata and venting her rage on Suigestu because the swordsman could take it. Jugo himself appeared to be at a crossroads in terms of having a relationship with anyone due to his unstable bloodline, so Naruto informed him that they would seek medical assistance to determine the source of the cause that causes his bloodline to turn him psychotic. Hinata-chan? Naruto asked, the girl humming slightly to show she was awake but didn't want to move. Yes, Naruto-kun, Hinata said softly. Have you considered where we should live permanently? As much as I want to restore Whirlpool to its former glory, the damage is too extensive, and there is no life to make it last for the long term, Naruto said after taking a walk around his mother's homeland and seeing how the invaders had made sure very little grew here to ensure no form of rebuilding could take place. Perhaps Spring Country. Koyuki would be delighted to welcome you back to her country. There's also Wave Country in Suna, though I don't think the desert terrain would be kind to you, Hinata said, recalling Naruto's manipulation of water when releasing the power of his Zanpakuto, and realizing she was a shark deep down. I'd like to go to Spring County. I hear it's been doing well since that machine there was activated to produce the actual season, Naruto said simply because he missed seeing the country and the people who lived there. What do you want to do about Konoha? Hinata inquired. I've hurt them enough that they won't come after me for a while. They will focus their efforts on the Akatsuki and defending their village against potential attacks from other villages such as Iwa. The village's alliance to defeat the Akatsuki does not mean they can relax their guard against one another. It won't make a difference. If I know Konoha, they'll try again later, and then Iwa will try to stop me before I can complete my primary objective of sending the Biju away, Naruto predicted before approaching the statue. I hated the leaf for hating you, Hinata said quietly in hushed tones. Huh? Said Naruto, surprised that Hinata hated anyone or anything. I despised them. The way they treated us when we were children. They were overjoyed after your death and celebrated for days on end. They acted as if they had survived a doomsday prophecy, Hinata observed as Naruto narrowed his eyes. No, they didn't. They were only responsible for their own demise. They just don't realize it yet, Naruto said, clutching Hinata close. Not everyone despised you. There are still a few people who didn't hate you or celebrate your death, Hinata said, raising an eyebrow at Naruto. Who? Asked Naruto, perplexed. The Konohamaru Corps, Hinata said, though she remained silent after that. But what about Ayame and her father? And what about Iruka? Hinata was unable to look at Naruto for a moment. Iruka was never your pal. He got drunk one night and I overheard him bragging about how he tricked you into becoming his friend, while only playing the role to keep Kyuubi quiet after the incident with Mizuki. Ayame and her father drugged your free ramen before you started at the academy, knowing the chemicals would make your mind sluggish. They wanted you to fail the academy so you'd be under the civilian council's control forever, and even after you became a shinobi, they used drugs to make you react slowly on missions, increasing your chances of dying. They boasted about it after your death and proudly displayed the various recipes they used as if they were badges of honor. The ramen recipes used to poison Kyuubi, they called them, and had them mounted on the wall like medals, Hinata lamented, feeling Naruto's rage flare up at those ungrateful fools. That's exactly what happened. Why did my mind seem to become sluggish shortly after eating ramen there and heading to the academy on the day the graduation exam was held? Why did my reflexes seem slow on those days when missions outside of Konoha seemed to have a high chance of becoming dangerous, thought Naruto as memories of past events filled his mind. I'm sorry for bringing it up, Hinata said, while Naruto remained silent at first, but placed a gentle hand on her head and stroked her hair to calm her worries. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. I'd rather hear the truth about them from you than a lie to mask the pain. Too many people lie already, Naruto said, noting that the girl's honesty was one of her mortal attractive qualities. I could never lie to you, Hinata declared, and Naruto smiled slightly in response. And I never want you to lie, Naruto said as he drew Hinata closer to him, and Hinata didn't fight it. Downstairs. Would you please stop trying to eavesdrop on Karen? Give them some privacy, Suigestu said, eating some scrounged up food while the redhead stood by the stairs leading to the second floor. Stop talking, Teme. He can't even stand her. She probably used her big breasts to seduce him or something, Karen said, cursing the fact that her own assets in that area were less than grand. Oh yes. Her massive breasts are everything. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's nice, sweet, caring, and doesn't punch people in the face every 5 seconds in a jealous rage, said Suigestu, who was promptly punched in the face and turned into water by Karen. I told Teme to shut up. You just have to wait. Once Naruto gets over her big chest, he'll want to be with someone more practical, and someone with more sway to the hips that makes men drool at the sight of me, Karen said as Suigestu's head reformed into solid flesh. Don't you mean run away at the sight of you? Suigestu asked before receiving a kick to the head. Shut up Teme! Yelled Karen, while Jugo sighed at their interaction. Ow! Stop doing that! Suigestu yelled angrily at Karen after his head reformed. Make me! Yelled Karen, enraged. I might! Exclaimed Suigestu, staring at the redhead. Enough! Yelled Naruto, who appeared with Hinata by his side and stomped his foot on the ground, shaking the house and the surrounding ground. Sorry, Naruto-sama, Karen and Suigestu said meekly. I tolerated this behavior with my last Fracione and it got them killed in battle because of its natural cause for distracting them. I blamed my enemies for their deaths at the time, but they were the ones who caused it and brought about their own deaths. I will not allow this to happen again with you too, and I will not allow our enemies to exploit some kind of weakness. Did I understand? Said Naruto, glaring at the two, who nodded quickly and bowed before him. We understand Naruto-sama. Said Suigestu and Karen, while Jugo nodded because he knew his own insanity could become a liability and would do everything he could to avoid it. Good. One more thing, Karen, if you disrespect Hinata's body again. I won't be merciful, and you will know my wrath, Naruto said in a much colder tone, making Karen gulp in fear. I apologize. Naruto-sama. Hinata-sama, Karen said, noticing the Hyuga woman looking at Naruto and whispering something into his ear that piqued the blonde's interest before he sighed. I accept your apology, Karen, and Hinata does as well. I understand you have feelings for me as well. You must understand, however, that Hinata has loved me since the academy days in Konoha, and my death had taken away that love. Now that I'm back, we're going to make up for lost time and not miss out on what we've been denied, Naruto said, noticing the red-haired girl look down. But, Hinata said, deciding to speak up. But? Said Karen, while Suigetsu snickered at the word. But, I am the last of the Uzumaki clan, and therefore in time, I will be required to have more than one woman in my life to rebuild it, and one of them just might be you, Karen. However, whether you become a part of the future where it is rebuilt is entirely up to me, and jealousy has no place in it, said Naruto, as Karen's hopes rose again and she nodded in understanding. I understand, Naruto-sama, Karen said after a brief glance at Hinata and a slight bow in thanks to the Hyuga woman's intervention. That's great to hear. I've decided that our time in Whirlpool will be somewhat shorter than I had anticipated due to our enemies knowing our current location, and I intend to take what we have and move to a safer location, Naruto said, drawing the group's attention. Where to, Naruto-sama? Jugo asked, pulling out a map of the elemental countries and pointing to the one location that could house them and take any heat that came their way. Springtime in the country. The daimyo there is an old friend of mine, Naruto said before explaining what had happened and why Koyuki could be trusted. After hearing the story, Suigetsu whistled. Damn! Exclaimed Suigetsu simply, while Jugo had to admit that for a genin-ranked shinobi, the blonde had performed admirably and should not be underestimated. Won't Konoha or even Iwa put a lot of pressure on her to give us up? Karen explained that they were missing Nin. They have no right to force me to leave Spring Country if I want to live there. Everyone in the elemental countries has heard about the return by now. Mist will not dare to oppose me, and Kumo's Raikage will want the Akatsuki gone to ensure his brother is not killed for the sake of the organization's desires, Naruto stated simply as the group nodded. And Suna will let you do your thing because the Cage is a friend of yours, Suigetsu stated simply, as Naruto nodded. Naturally. Gaara also understands that I'm unlike anything he's ever seen before, and that stopping me from completing my mission would be suicide for his village. Gaara isn't suicidal, Naruto said as the group nodded. So, how do we proceed? Will the Akatsuki pursue you even more aggressively now that two of their members have died? Karen saw the blonde nod and knew they were still interested in the alleged demonic power sealed inside him that didn't exist in his body. They'll do it. Though, given the unexpected loss, I'd wager they'd try to capture the eight-tailed Jinchuriki in Kumo first before attempting to capture me again, said Naruto, who had dispatched so many with ease and was widely regarded as the strongest on either side. Shouldn't we warn them to beef up their security? Jugo asked, while Naruto shook his head no. They're doing it right now. They've probably heard about Akatsuki and Konoha losing to us. If the Raikage has any sense, he'll come to the same tactical conclusion I did, and make sure his village is well fortified to protect his little brother, Naruto said before telling them to pack up what they had before looking around for anything they might have missed from the start. The group set off to Spring Country with everything they needed, and for Naruto, it was to see an old friend he hadn't seen in a long time. Akatsuki headquarters. Itachi and Kisame failed? Said Pain, surprised, while Zetsu nodded fearfully from both halves when delivering the report. Yeah. They weren't the only ones, said Zetsu's white half. That's correct. After killing Itachi, the blonde took on Jiraiya of the Sannin, Hitaki Kakashi, and a slew of high-level Konoha shinobi without breaking a sweat. He's a terrifying fucker, exclaimed Zetsu's black half. He launched a beam of yellow chakra right at the Anbu and obliterated them all with a single strike. That's not supposed to be possible, said Zetsu's white half. I thought the asshole had no power other than the Kyuubis, so how is he capable of doing that and kicking the ass of everyone in his path? said Zetsu's black half. How indeed, Pain said, looking discreetly at Madara, who was clearly perplexed by this and found the Uzumaki's return to be unexpected in and of itself. How should we proceed? Itachi and Kisame were key members within the organization, capable of taking down a Biju or a Jinchuriki, Conan said, while Pain looked unsure for a moment as a plan formed in his head. We can't take the risk of going for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The Kyuubi has not returned simply because he has. I'm not going to waste any more of our resources on him until we've captured the eight-tailed ox and determined whether or not the Kyuubi still exists. The organization cannot afford any more losses, Pain said, as Conan nodded. Are we going to handle this ourselves then? Conan asked, with Pain nodding because there was no one else capable due to the deaths of Kakuzu, Hidan, Deidara, and Sasori prior to their most recent casualties. We don't have a choice. The Raikage will not be easily defeated, nor will his brother, who has complete control over his Biju, and the village itself will not allow us to simply take what we want. Not to mention that the return of Uzumaki Naruto and his small group will be a problem. We must act quickly if we are to capture the eight-tailed ox. Prepare the army of white Zetsu clones. We'll need to destroy the village while I deal with its Jinchuriki and Raikage, said Pain, with the other members nodding in agreement before fading away. That's right, Uzumaki. You've come back. My only question now is, do you still have the fox inside your body? Or are you nothing more than a husk? Madara thought, as he had found this to be unexpected, but not unwelcome, since Senju Bitch had issued the execution order on the Jinchuriki all those years ago. A week later, Kumo won. How are our defenses? Inquired the Raikage, having received word of two Akatsuki members entering Lightning Country and heading for Kumo. Strong walls and fresh at the ready shinobi all ready to defend the village, an Anbu captain said, looking at the map in front of him, with the Raikage beside him. B. I want you by my side at all times, and we'll face this enemy together. If a pair of them can easily take Yugito, let alone the other Jinchuriki, we'll have to fight them together and drive them out of the village before they gain too much ground, said the Raikage, with B nodding in agreement. Karui, Samui, and Omoi are also prepared to fight. They're looking for retaliation after losing Yugito to their organization, B stated solemnly, as he only stopped rapping when seriousness was required, which was right now. It won't be enough, Naruto said as he appeared through the Garganta, which allowed the blonde to travel wherever he pleased and surprised the group in front of him. Uzumaki-san. So you heard the news, right? While the Anbu captain slowly put his weapon away, the Raikage was assessing the blonde to see if he was everything his big brother claimed he was when they met at the Cage Summit. Yes. It wasn't surprising given the loss of two of its members. They want to get your brother for his Biju and then come after me if I still have any of the Kyuubi's power locked inside of me, Naruto said while dressed all in white, including a white trench coat buttoned in the front like Jin wore in Las Noches, but with the kanji for Shark Fox instead on the back, and the kanji are in blood red ink rather than black. You don't? Killer B asked, while Naruto gave him a blank stare. My father, the Yondaime Hokage himself, made sure that if I died, the fox died with me, and since Konoha did their job oh so well. Naruto said, seeing Killer B nod and sensing the taller man giving him one of respect as well. All they'd get out of you is absolutely nothing, the Raikage said, while Naruto simply nodded. Raikage-sama, I will finish my mission. There is no doubt about it. Even if I have to kill you and destroy this village, the Biju within your brother will be expelled before he is forever sent to the demonic realm. Naruto's eyes told the Kumo leader that he was dead serious. I see what you're saying. How has your understanding of the sealing arts evolved? Said the Raikage, perplexed. It's going swimmingly. I believe I have a method of extracting the Biju, and as long as it behaves, no drastic measures will be taken to force it to behave long enough to send the ox on his way. Naruto noticed Killer B looking away for a second. Shark Fox, You don't have to worry about the ox after this. He'll be fine. I assure you that I will not be in a bad mood," Killer Bee sighed, knowing that he was hoping for too much for his little brother to not rap for an entire day. Good. Because they are at your village's walls. It's time to take things seriously, Naruto said this as he used Sonito to exit the room and appear in front of the wall that separated the two Akatsuki members. Before it exploded violently, scattering debris and sending shinobi flying back from the power used to create such a hole. What strength! It's incredible, Samui observed Naruto standing there, calm and collected despite what she had done. Hey! What exactly are you doing here? This is Kumo's battle. Defeat it, said Omoi, while Naruto returned a slight look, making the Kumo shinobi's face pale at seeing those blue eyes that warned him to watch his mouth. Maintain a tight leash on him. I'll kill him if I hear one more arrogant word from his mouth. Naruto turned his attention to Pain and his paths as they walked into the village. Omoi, you heard him. If you can't say something correctly, don't say anything at all. Karui agreed with Naruto and prepared her weapon as the rest of her group did as well. No. He's all mine. Keep an eye out for the other one. Naruto spoke with 3 Kumo shinobi looking confused behind him. The Akatsuki seemed to strike in pairs. There are 6 of them, all with the same strange eyes, said Omoi, his teammate joining in on the confusion. This is one person in charge of many. His partner is not present. Keep an eye out, Naruto stated calmly, while the trio simply stared at him as if he had grown a second head. How do you know? Karui finally asked. Because I'm aware of her presence. She's protecting the real one. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Pain, who appeared to hear the conversation and was both surprised and impressed that the former Espada had discovered the secret so quickly. The genuine article? Do you mean the genuine Akatsuki member? Samui replied, with Naruto nodding yes to the question. That shows how perceptive you are. This was not something I expected from you, Uzumaki Naruto. Given your unique track record as a child and your reputation for idiocy, Pain said this while Naruto just laughed in vain. Konoha deserves credit for that. They didn't want me to be very smart or to have strong perceptions in reading people in case I ever discovered that the few people I thought could be considered friends were only doing so under false pretenses for future sinister purposes. Naruto spoke calmly, but his voice was cold, and they spoke of Pain from the past, a betrayers of his friendship with them. I see. So you, too, have experienced the agony of betrayal. This will make things a lot easier, Pain said this as his other paths prepared to fight. Look for the puppeteer behind these creations about 10 miles to the east. Look for anything that shouldn't be there or that appears to be a possible disguise, Naruto addressed the trio behind him. We don't take your orders. Only the Raikage is capable of doing so, but the surge of energy around Naruto told him to keep quiet, and he backed away slightly from the Uzumaki in front of them. You should not argue. You are assisting the Raikage and his brother in defending Kumo from the Akatsuki by doing so. His partner is protecting the true one man hidden behind these 6. When the puppeteer is removed, the puppets fall, leaving only the man's partner to capture her for intel when she is questioned. Naruto said this while noticing Samui, Karui, and Omoi debating whether or not to obey his commands. Do as he says, the Raikage said as he appeared behind the trio. Raikage-sama? Samui asked, as the muscled man nodded. This Gaki is an Uzumaki, and a powerful one at that. If he says there's gold at the end of the rainbow, believe him, and don't try to call it a bluff. Uzumakis are not known for their bluffing abilities. If they say it's there, and that's all there is to it. The Raikage knew Uzumakis were notorious for being correct about the most bizarre things that most people would never believe was possible in the first place. Yes, sir, exclaimed the Junin trio before departing for their destination. Will they find the real one and his accomplice? As Pain's 6 paths in the army of white Zetsu clones marched through the opening, the Raikage prepared to fight with Killer Bee now beside him. I already have some people working on it, Naruto said, having sent Karen and Suigestu to look for it in that area while Hinata was with Jugo in Spring Country. I hope they find it soon, Killer Bee said as she prepared. Take them out. There is no mercy. There is no hesitation. They are no longer human. They aren't even conscious. They're nothing more than puppets, said Naruto before they three charged forward with the goal of victory as their own. Elsewhere. I can feel them. They're close. Karen used her sensory abilities to track down the real Pain and his female companion. Where? I only see trees. Suigestu observed one tree after another with no sign of their targets. Are you looking for Pain as well? As Samui and her teammates approached them, she explained that they were there to help them find the Akatsuki members, and Karen only nodded once. I have sensory abilities that allow me to locate anyone. In this general area, our 2 targets are close. I can't find them, but they're nearby and hiding in a tree that may or may not be a tree. Karen noticed how everyone looked at her like she was crazy. Huh? Exclaimed Omoi, glaring angrily at Karen. A fake tree, you asshole! Exclaimed Karen, seeing them finally grasp the concept. Oh. Why didn't you say something like that? Suigestu said this before getting kicked in the head and turning into water. I did, you baka! Exclaimed Karen as she waited for her teammates' heads to return to solid form. Focus. We must locate the 2 Akatsuki members before it is too late, Karui said, as the 2 members of Naruto's Fraction looked at each other before paling, remembering their leader's words about not messing around. All right. You've never seen us act like this before, Karen spoke quickly before looking again for anything out of place. Naruto must have really instilled fear of Kami in them, Samui observed as the 2 concentrated on the task at hand. There is faint chakra emanating from that tree. Karen pointed to a tree about 100 feet away, and upon closer inspection, it was clear the tree was a forgery. Prepare yourself. This is where the adventure begins. As the others drew their weapons, Suigestu took out Kusanagi and extended his own to strike the fake tree with a quick slice that easily cut it in half. To expose the true Pain and Konan. We've been discovered, Konan said, his gaze narrowing at the group. It makes no difference. They will lose regardless of what they do, Pain said this as Konan nodded and prepared to fight them. Returning to Kumo hours later. Raikage and Killer Bee were both panting. They had spent the previous few hours fighting all of Pain's 6 paths with Naruto and had successfully destroyed all but one, which appeared to be the most powerful due to its ability to manipulate gravity. Despite their best efforts to kill him, this path had already tossed Killer Bee and the Raikage around like ragdolls. As we were bees, all of the Raikage's limbs had been pinned to the wall of a building with black chakra receivers, while Naruto's trench coat was in tatters and he had to rip it off to give himself better movement. I'm sorry you did that. Hinata-chan put in a lot of effort to make that trench coat. Now I'm not going to be gentle with you or your pitiful army. Naruto said this after crushing 3 of Pain's 6 paths and collaborating with Killer Bee and the Raikage to take down the other 2. It makes no difference. You and the 8-tailed Jinchuriki will soon be Akatsuki property. Naruto shook his head and unsheathed his Zanpakuto as Pain spoke. No. I'm sorry, Raikage-sama, but in order to win this battle, I need to do a lot of damage to your village, and I can only apologize in advance. Naruto saw the enemy before him, who was grunting in pain, and narrowed his Rinnegan eyes. I don't think so. I know you defeated Jiraiya of the Sannin and his forces, but you will not do the same to mine. Pain said this as he used his gravity manipulation to make Naruto's Zanpakuto much heavier than usual, and threw chakra receivers at the Uzumaki in front of him. only for Naruto's chakra receivers to bounce off his body. You are incorrect. While your control over gravity is impressive, my own power and strength are far beyond your comprehension. As the man's eyes widened in surprise, Naruto raised his Zanpakuto and pointed it at Pain. He shouldn't be able to move his arm, says the doctor. My manipulation of gravity with this body should be unparalleled, thought Pain as he watched yellow energy flow into the sword and Zetsu's report on what happened to the leaf Anbu replayed in his mind. Sero, said Naruto, firing the attack and widening the width of it to hit more than just the Pain in front of him. The final path barely jumped out of the way of the massive Sero, but the white Zetsu clones behind him were not so fortunate, as every single one of them had been destroyed, leaving a long crater from the start of the Zanpakuto to the end of the army of white Zetsu clones. Moving his gaze to Pain, the Uzumaki Arrancar noticed the man was enraged and finally displaying emotions for the first time since the fight began. Clearly, he didn't expect to lose his entire army, as well as the other paths sent to sack Kumo for the eight-tailed Jinchuriki. What strength? What makes this possible? That attack didn't contain any of Kyuubi's chakra, but it was entirely powered by him. Who is he? Pain thought as he saw the blonde look at him and then vanish in an instant. I believe your time on this planet is coming to an end. Not this fake thing you command, but the real body that is being attacked right now, and it won't be long before what little life remains is robbed by violent means. Don't even try to deny it. I've felt it. This body smelled like death all the way to your real one. You might be able to hold off the group attacking you right now thanks to the female fighting with everything she has to protect you. However, we both know that if they don't kill you, I will, and I won't be so merciful. Naruto said this before expertly slashing each of the path's limbs and thigh off his, leaving only the head to remove. I'm not going to deny it. My time is running out, but I will not give up on my goal of bringing peace to the world, and I will see the shinobi villages bow to its power. Pain said this as Naruto narrowed his eyes at him and took the head clean off with a quick slice from his Zanpakuto before sheathing his blade. Naruto moved quickly to free the Raikage and Killer Bee from their pinned positions before allowing Kumo's Anbu to take them both to be healed, and they all thanked him for his actions. Using Sonito, the Uzumaki Arrancar appeared in front of Samui, Karui, and Omoi, who were all alive but bruised. Suigestu was currently fighting Konan, while Karen was tending to the injuries of the three Kumo shinobi. Pain was clearly expecting Naruto, as he showed no surprise when the Arrancar appeared, and returned with the same emotionless stare. Nothing less from the Akatsuki's self-proclaimed leader. You and your partner demonstrated your strength by repelling so many people, despite going against your own principles of peace. What you're attempting to do is oppress others by threatening to use the Biju's power against every single country. That is regarded as a false peace. One is the quickest path to war, bringing together people who would rather fight to the death to overthrow such tyranny. Your method of achieving peace will only result in a major war with devastating global consequences, and you will be held responsible for such devastation, Naruto observed Pain's enraged scowl at him. You have no idea. You have such naive ideas about ending the ways of war as I do, but your way will only be temporary, whereas my way will bring about peace, and only those who wish to start war to end such a thing are the true enemy. I will not allow you to prevent me from achieving long-lasting peace. Tensai Shinra. Pain said this as he unleashed the power of his Rinnegan on Naruto, who took the attack without hesitation and didn't move an inch when the repulsive-based wave of power hit him. Is that all? Is that all you have? It's a shame. Naruto said this as he walked over to the stunned Pain, who quickly fires another one at him, and another, with the results of each attack producing no results in causing the Arrancar harm at all. Nagato! Exclaimed Konan as she noticed Naruto standing right in front of her childhood friend, her hand now slowly crushing the red-haired man's throat. Nagato. So that's your real name, right? Naruto said this while slowly tightening his grip on the man's throat. Uzumaki Naruto is the name. He's a blood relative of yours. Conan said this in the hopes of keeping Naruto's hand. Naruto quickly let go of Nagato before turning to stare at the woman in the hair, who had left herself open in midair, and Suigetsu preparing to pierce her with Kusanagi extending to strike the woman's heart. To everyone's surprise, Naruto used Sonito to grab the blue-haired beauty and place her beside Nagato. Are you, as she claims, an Uzumaki? Will you swear on the blood of our people and the souls of our Whirlpool country ancestors that you are one of them? Naruto said this while his voice was deadly serious and left no room for nonsense. Yes. I am one, despite the fact that I was never in Whirlpool when it fell. When my parents were killed by Leaf Shinobi while near AIM, I was a child. I wandered around until I met two other orphans like myself, Conan being one of them, and Yahiko being the third. We met Jiraiya of the Sannin one day, and he taught us enough to defend ourselves in such a harsh environment, Nagato said as Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. Did he have any idea you were an Uzumaki? Naruto noticed Nagato's uncertainty and turned to Conan to see if she knew. We have no idea. He knew Nagato had the Rinnegan, but we never told him his surname, and I doubt Jiraiya's spy network could track it down, though there was always a chance Jiraiya had found out and just never told anyone, said Conan honestly. Do you both truly want peace? Naruto asked as the two nodded. We just want the fighting to stop and some peace to return. Each village uses their Jinchuriki as weapons, wreaking havoc and destruction on everyone in their path. We simply wanted to remove these villages' fangs and make them all think twice before starting a war, Nagato said as Naruto looked at his red-haired cousin. Did it ever occur to you that the Jinchuriki should have had a say in the matter? You took them without even asking what they wanted, just as the villages turned them into Jinchuriki without even asking. Naruto noticed the two looking at him in horror, as they had been doing. Taking Jinchuriki without even giving them a choice or a chance to consider what this would mean for them, and then Nagato never brought them back to life after rescuing the Biju from their human prison. Nagato had the ability to do it through his eyes, but he never used it, remaining focused on the task at hand of gathering all the Biju. I've become what I despised. I have betrayed my own beliefs. Yahiko has been betrayed by me, Nagato sobbed for the first time since Yahiko committed suicide to save them all from Hanzo's heinous treachery. We betrayed Yahiko, Conan said, as she could only weep with him at the news, and Naruto just let them embrace it together. The powers that be above this mortal realm have assigned me a mission to complete. Where is the statue with the Biju you've amassed? Naruto said calmly as Nagato looked up at him. In AIM. It's where our base of operations was established after I killed Hanzo to seize control of the village. The statue that is holding them is deep underground in a huge room. We used some of the Biju's power to create the white Zetsu clones, but there is more than enough to create even more than what you saw earlier in Kumo, and Madara will create even more once he learns about this, Nagato observed Naruto's narrowed eyes at him. Leave, Naruto said simply as he walked away from them, everyone looking at him in surprise. What? Conan asked, seeing Naruto turn his head to look at her. I told you to leave. Leave the Akatsuki alone. Go somewhere where you can live in peace. Only I can do what needs to be done right now. Before seeing Nagato put up his shaking hand, Naruto pleaded with the blonde to wait. There will be more Naruto. More information about Whirlpool's demise. Something you should know about Konoha and the horrible secret they kept hidden from everyone. Your parents, too, Nagato observed Naruto raise an eyebrow at him. What? Asked Naruto, before turning to face his fellow Uzumaki. Whirlpool was not destroyed at the time by enemy forces such as Iwa or Kumo. They were assassinated from within. Konoha betrayed Whirlpool and duped everyone into thinking it was at the hands of two enemy villages in order to gain more support for the war. Nagato had planned to exact revenge on Konoha, not only for the village murdering the Kyuubi Jinchuriki that the Akatsuki required at the time, but also for the betrayal Konoha dealt to Whirlpool in order to have the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, who was Uzumaki Kushina at the time, and make every village fear them for it. Who gave the order for this to occur? Was it the Sandaime Hokage or someone else with military clout among the shinobi? Naruto observed Nagato shaking his head no. I'm not sure. All I know is that Jiraiya was involved, using his spy network to determine the best time to strike Whirlpool when it was at its weakest. I wouldn't rule out Danzo and his root shinobi doing the deed because it's not the first time he's done such things in the shadows to further his goals. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the red-haired man, said Nagato. Thank you for providing that information. Visit Spring Country. Inform the daimyo that you intend to seek secret asylum there until I return to discuss matters further. Hyuga Hinata is a skilled medic nin and should be able to repair any damage your body has sustained over time. Be discreet or else everyone will come after you, regardless of whether or not you have left the organization. Naruto turned to see the three Kumo shinobi sitting up against some trees, watching the now former Akatsuki members leave the area around their village. You're just going to abandon them? Exactly like that? Omoi exclaimed in disbelief, as did Karui and Samui. Yes. They are no longer a threat. I now know where the Akatsuki's headquarters are and can take decisive action against them before they recover from their defeat. I'll return to Kumo after I've taken care of the other Biju in the statue to extract the eight-tailed ox from Killer Bee without killing him and send the demonic animal on his way into the demonic realm, where the others will be waiting for him. Naruto observed the trio nodding. What about us? Karen asked, seeing Naruto turn his gaze to her and Suigestu. You will return to Kumo with Suigestu to continue healing them all before word of what happened in Kumo reaches other villages such as Konoha. Suigestu, you'll also stay to learn swordsmanship from Killer Bee after he's healed, and you'll learn a few things from him. While the swordsman looked surprised, Naruto said. Are you sure, boss? Suigestu asked, scratching his chin. You should practice wielding Kusanagi and Samahata more. According to what I've seen, Killer Bee is a Kenjutsu master, and he's the only one capable of bringing out your full potential when using multiple swords. Suigestu gave him a mock salute as Naruto spoke. You got it, boss. Exclaimed Suigestu, a grin on his face. Can I rely on you to confide in only your Raikage about this? Naruto saw the three Kumo shinobi nod and decided that blabbing about it was not in anyone's best interests. Kind of stupid to blab it about for everyone to hear, Omoi simply stated, with his two teammates nodding in agreement. Karen? Suigestu? Said Naruto, turning his gaze to his Fraction members. Lips sealed, boss, Suigestu said, zipping his mouth shut with a hand motion. I'm not going to say anything, Karen said, knowing how important discretion was in this situation. Good. I'll be right back, Naruto said this before opening the Garganta and entering it to go straight to aim. Okay. I realize he's an Uzumaki, and they do impossible things. But, please, someone tell me what the fuck was that? Suigestu was surprised because he had never seen anything like it before. Beneath aim. Madara was aware that something was wrong. It was there in his bones. One does not live as long as he did and still have these instincts. The fact that the Uchiha had spent so many years in the shadows did not mean that his battle instincts had weakened to the point where he couldn't tell when something went wrong with his plans. Though that was unusual in and of itself, as they had rarely gone wrong, and even then it had never felt as bad as it did now. He had planned everything since the fight with the Shoden in the Valley of the End, when he became Mizukage, turned his successor to the title into a puppet, and began the bloodline civil war. Even using the Kagaya to light the spark with the help of his Sharingan eyes to arouse the clan's bloodlust and plant the seed that they must attack Mist to prove their superiority. He had attacked the Yondaime Hokage, rescued his pet from Kushina, and intended to have the fox destroy, or at the very least weaken, the village beyond repair. With that failing, Madara turned his attention to the Akatsuki after Nagato had become pain, and whispered a plan to sap the strength of each shinobi village by removing the Biju from each of their Jinchuriki. Then came the training of Itachi, whom he assisted in the slaying of his clan for wishing to rebel against Konoha in secret and take control of the village. While such an act would temporarily weaken the village, Madara did not like the idea of a weak Uchiha like Fugaku becoming Hokage, and assisted Itachi in killing the other Uchiha while manipulating events so that Konoha would spoil Sasuke in his desire for greater power. Of course, Madara knew Itachi was a spy for Jiraiya because the order to kill the Uchiha came from the very top, but he didn't tell Pain about it because he wanted to wait until Sasuke acquired his own set of Mangeki Sharingan eyes. Of course, the plan had failed due to Sasuke's failure to kill Naruto, but if it had gone as planned, Madara could have manipulated Itachi into performing his final act of repentance for the slaughter of his kinsmen by having the two brothers fight it out, with Sasuke obtaining his brother's Sharingan eyes in exchange for a much younger, less morally bound Uchiha. That was no longer possible in its entirety because Uzumaki Naruto had returned. I'll say about your son Minato, he's definitely living up to his family's reputation on both sides of the fence in being unpredictable and honestly. I don't like it. Madara thought as she sensed a presence nearby where the Jeed Mosh was, and the man's eyes widened. As Madara entered the large room containing the statue, he noticed Naruto standing there with his hand on the massive creature's form and his eyes closed. Madara had no idea what Naruto was up to, but he could feel the Biju within the statue stirring and wondered if the blonde was communicating with them all. But how exactly? That shouldn't be possible. Such rage. Such anguish. Do you have any idea what humans have done to these Biju by imprisoning them? Naruto said this before removing his hand from the statue and looking directly at Madara. Do you think I'm interested? They're just pets. That was their intention from the moment the Sage of Six Paths separated the Kyuubi into 9 different demon animals. They were to be tamed, controlled, and used in whatever way we saw fit, Madara stated, while Naruto shook his head no. According to the gods above, no. Jinchuriki's creation is against the rules, and what you intend to do with the Moon Eye plan, your sick mind has created is even more so, Naruto said as Madara's eyes narrowed at him. And how do you know about that? Madara asked, jerking Naruto's head towards the Jeed Mosh, where the Biju were sealed. Just because they're locked up doesn't mean they don't hear things. I had a pleasant and lengthy conversation with them. Naruto turned around to see the real Zetsu appear behind him, accompanied by a small army of his clones. I see. I'll take it. Pain and Konan died and decided to make amends by telling you where to find this location, Madara said this while Naruto laughed. To put it another way? Yes. They did, indeed. Nagato had given it to me as a gift from one long-lost Uzumaki to another, Naruto said before pulling out his Zanpakuto, while Madara's eyes widened in surprise because even he had no idea about Nagato. Blood is denser than water. How? Sickening. Madara observed Naruto's narrowed eyes at him. Not as sickening as you are right now. People I find more repulsive than you are those in Konoha, and we both know their time in this world is coming to an end after I leave. Naruto pointed his Zanpakuto at Zetsu and his army of white half versions of himself. I've heard about your sword-wielding prowess. If you use it so close to the Jeed Mosh, the statue will be destroyed and the Biju will be free. Said Madara, with Naruto giving him a, I don't care, look in his opinion. You anticipate that they will break our earlier agreement. What do you believe they are? Human? Naruto said this before charging his Zanpakuto and aiming it from Zetsu to the Jeed Mosh statue. No. Exclaimed Madara, horrified. Sero. exclaimed Naruto before launching his attack on the massive statue, which had destroyed the entire village of Aim and killed almost everyone in it. Nearly everyone. The ground shook all over the elemental countries, with buildings cracking and collapsing all around people, mountains crumbling, waters crashing violently at sea, and trees toppling over from the shockwave caused by this action. Where Aim once stood, there was now a crater large enough to consume the shinobi village several dozen times over, and a lone figure looking slightly battered from the explosion, surrounded by 7 large animals. "It's time, Uzumaki Naruto," said the Nibi, who saw Naruto nod and opened a massive garganta large enough to send them all through. "This will transport you to the demonic realm. The only other time I'll open it up to that location is to send the 8 tails through, and that'll be the last time I do," said Naruto, as Shukaku looked downcast. "But I don't want to return home. I have a lot of work to do and destroy here. I propose that we just stay and kick some ass," Shukaku defiantly stated, but was silenced by the others glaring at him, and decided not to complain any longer. "Shukaku, you must complete this task. You are thus liberated from the Senju, the Uchiha, and those who wish to seal you up into human vessels in order to turn them into weapons. That is something none of you want," Naruto stated as they all nodded in agreement. "It's best if we go." Han would not want the cycle to repeat itself, Gobi simply agreed, knowing that their previous hosts would not wish any new guests their baggage. "Proceed then," Naruto said as they went in one by one through the portal into the demonic realm, all of them entering. "You did well, Naruto," Yami said as he appeared in front of Naruto as the garganta closed and saw the blonde bow his head slightly. "You requested that I do something, and I delivered. All I have to do now is extract the 8 tails from Killer Bee in Kumo, and I'll be done," Naruto nodded, and Yami produced a seal for the Arrancar to use. "Make use of this seal. Once placed on him with the rest of your own work, Hachibi can be extracted from his vessel without being killed, and you can send the Biju on his way," Yami said as he saw Naruto take the seal, and whatever wounds he had started to heal. "After that, you know what I have to do, and not just to Konoha," Naruto said, as Yami nodded. "I know. Iwa will not be pleased with your actions in removing the Biju. Take care of them first, then Konoha," Yami said, with Naruto nodding. "I will. Thank you once more, Yami-sama, for this second chance," Yami just smiled as Naruto spoke. "Naruto, you more than deserve it. We should have stopped Kami's stupidity from the beginning, and the fact that we didn't makes us almost as guilty," said Yami, while Naruto could only admire the god's candor. "If you'll excuse me, Yami-sama, I have a mission to complete that must be completed as soon as possible," Naruto said before opening a garganta and boarding it to travel to Kumo. "Uzumaki Naruto, you'll do great. You were always supposed to make decisions about the shinobi village's future. Nothing will prevent that from happening," Yami said as he prepared to leave the mortal realm for the heavens above. "The celestial realm. You have no right to do this to me. Hello, my name is Kami. This is my throne, and I will not be deposed by my own brothers." Kami said this while being bound in chains and restrained by the Shinigami King, and Yami soon joined them. "It's no longer your call, brother. Before the Sage of Six Paths even sealed the Kyuubi into his body, you betrayed your principles and the very laws established ages ago. You openly defied these laws for far too long, and we listened to your honey-laced words for far too long, allowing things to slide. How many Jinchuriki have died before this? How many people were killed as a result of these villages' use of Jinchuriki as weapons of war? How many innocent lives were lost because you refused to let us intervene? All because, when Kyuubi manifested herself after being separated from Kyuubi, you couldn't bring her to your bed, and she vowed never to lie in it. You have harmed others because she has harmed your pride. You scorned everyone and everything pure because your pride was crushed by Kyuubi's refusal to be your toy," Yami said, seeing Kami enraged at him. Kyuubi had no right to turn me down. I was a deity. She was possessed by a demon. With a flick of my wrist, I commanded the power to destroy her and all the Biju. All I asked was that she lie with me and be my forever. She deserved to be tortured. She deserved to be enslaved by the bloodlines of the Uchiha and the Senju. The guilt would make Kyuubi regret my offer, just as her 3 vessels deserved to suffer. Said Kami, the Shinigami King, mocking him. You never learned to accept the word, no, my brother, the Shinigami King said, Kami growling at him. No one has the right to refuse Kami. No one. Kami said this before Yami slugged him across the face. You are pitiful, brother. Maybe a few thousand years in purgatory will teach you some much-needed humility. Yami snapped his fingers, and in an instant, a portal beneath Kami opened up, with the deity falling into it while cursing his brothers for defying his rule over all things. Now all that remains is for Naruto to do what he must, and it will not be pleasant, the Shinigami King said, with Yami nodding in agreement. Brother, balance will be restored to this world. Even with Biju banished to the demonic realm, greedy humans continue to wield power and cause suffering, and they must be removed, Yami said, as the Shinigami King nodded. If not already, innocent blood will be spilled by his hands, the Shinigami King said, shaking his head at him. Those who support such people in power and obey their orders instead of thinking for themselves are not innocent people, brother. That is why they were given free will to think for themselves, and the fact that they choose not to abandon such people in power makes them guilty. They believe their leaders are correct and will not listen to reason, Yami said, as the Shinigami King nodded. I'm going to be swamped with paperwork, the Shinigami King thought to himself. The cost of being Shinigami King, my dear brother, Yami chuckled.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.